The first warning came as a ripple through the void, an echo of something massive shifting in the darkest stretch of space known as the Zone. Most civilizations feared that region, the place where ships entered but rarely came back, where signals vanished mid-transmission, and where ancient ruins floated in cold silence like tombstones for forgotten wars. But for the human fleet, the Zone wasn't just another dangerous border. It was a promise, a challenge, a line drawn across the galaxy that humanity had decided it was finally time to cross. Admiral Rion. Hale stood at the reinforced observation deck of the flagship Vanguard, watching the swirling distortions outside, as if the void itself were breathing. The fleet had arrived exactly on schedule. Hundreds of ships, polished hulls gleaming like silver blades, weapons primed. Rumors of a new enemy force gathering deep inside the Zone had already rippled through the Galactic Council, and after centuries of being underestimated or dismissed, humanity had decided they wouldn't wait to be attacked. They would take the first step. They would show the galaxy what they had become. But this story doesn't begin with a fleet of warships, or a seasoned admiral, or even the first surge of battle fire. It begins with a teenager on a morning train, 16-year-old. Eli Tanner never imagined he'd be linked to something as massive as a military operation on the far edge of charted space. He was just trying to get to his weekend robotics exam, clutching a backpack that had seen better days. Scrolling through ship schematics on his cracked tablet, the train rocked gently as it cut through the city. People chatted softly, half awake, half lost in their own worries. It was just another normal day until he noticed her. A woman stepped onto the train. One hand pressed gently to her lower stomach, the other gripping a small tote bag decorated with painted stars. She looked tired, a little pale, and the train was already packed. Without thinking, Eli stood up and offered her his seat. "You sure?" she asked, giving him a small but grateful smile. "Yeah, of course," he replied, shrugging awkwardly. "Please." He sat on the floor instead, leaning against the metal railing as the train continued onward. Nothing dramatic, nothing heroic. Just a simple gesture, one of those small human moments no one thinks twice about. Yet when the woman reached her stop, she paused beside him, hesitated, and then slipped a small folded note into his hand. "Read this later," she whispered. He nodded. Confused but polite, watching her hurry out onto the platform. The doors closed. The train pulled away, and Eli stared at the note as if it were something fragile, something strangely heavy. He didn't open it right away if he had. He might have understood everything sooner, far beyond Earth. Deep inside the Zone, Admiral Hale stood as the fleet slid into formation. The enemy vessels finally emerged from behind a jagged asteroid-clustered arc. Angular shapes, with glowing cores that pulsed like beating hearts. The scanners flared red. The threat level shot to maximum. Hale didn't flinch. This was the species that had raided outposts at the edge of human territory. The ones the Council had insisted must be appeased, negotiated with, tolerated. But humans had learned something from their early years in the galaxy. Peace without strength was just a slow countdown to disaster. Hale had no intention of letting this new enemy test them again. "Targeting sequence locked," said Commander Solis beside him. "Orders, sir." Hale exhaled slowly. "Show them the fleet is here." The human ships surged forward like a rising storm. Back on Earth, the train rattled over a bridge and into the sunlight. Eli finally unfolded the note. The handwriting was soft, uneven, as if written in a rush. As he read the first line, he blinked, thinking he'd misunderstood. "Thank you for giving me your seat. I needed it more than you know. I'm writing this because there's something you deserve to be told." Eli frowned, reading on. "Years ago, your father did the same for me, offered a kindness when I had nothing. I never forgot it. And now, I can finally repay what I owe your family. You're about to be contacted about a program, something important, something secret. Say yes, no matter how strange it sounds. It will change your life, and maybe much more than that." Eli froze. His father had died 3 years ago in an engineering accident. The idea that a stranger knew something, Eli didn't sent a strange chill through him. He kept reading. "You won't understand this now, but trust me, Everything begins with you. And when the time comes, look toward the stars. The note ended with a tiny symbol drawn in the corner, a star, encircled by a thin line, the same symbol etched onto the classified insignia. Of the human fleet, only people with high-level authorization ever saw that emblem. Eli's heart pounded. How did she know? How could she know? He read the note again, more slowly this time, but the words didn't change. He glanced around the train as if the woman might somehow still be nearby. But she was gun-lost somewhere in the shifting crowd. Somewhere above him. Invisible in the bright morning sky, a CUM satellite silently locked onto his ID signal. Back in the zone, the enemy launched their first volley lances of crackling energy, meant to tear through the front line of human ships. They hit shields that barely flickered. Hale's eyes narrowed. Return fire! In the span of a heartbeat, the fleet unleashed everything: precision beams, EMP nets, shockwave charges. The enemy ships didn't stand a chance. Their hulls shattered like brittle stone, scattering debris through the void. What was supposed to be the greatest threat in the region was destroyed in seconds. Silence fell over the CUM channels. Even the officers looked stunned. "Is that it?" Solis asked. But Hale didn't answer, because he sensed something the others didn't. That fight had been too easy. Too precise. Too expected. As if the enemy hadn't been preparing to win, but to measure something, to confirm something, to test something, and humanity had just revealed its hand. On Earth, Eli felt his tablet vibrate. A new message flashed across the cracked screen. Unknown source. Eli Tanner. We need to talk. The same symbol from the note appeared beside the text. Eli swallowed hard and far across the stars. Inside the shadowed depths of the zone, something enormous, something ancient finally, opened its eyes. The real enemy had awakened, and humanity had just announced itself. Eli stared at the glowing message on his tablet, feeling the world around him blur into background noise. The train hummed, people shuffled in and out. Conversations overlapped, but all of it felt distant, like he was watching through thick glass. His name flickered on the screen again, as if the sender knew he hadn't answered. He checked the signal source. But it just showed a blank field, no number, no address, no traceable signature. That alone didn't make sense. Even the government used identifiable markers when sending secure messages. Whoever contacted him wasn't just off-grid. They were operating above the grid entirely. He hesitated, thumbs hovering, before typing a single word. Who? No reply. The train pulled into the next station, and he looked out the window, trying to shake the feeling that someone was watching him. He didn't know why the note from the woman had hit him so hard, but the combination of her message and this new anonymous text made his chest feel tight. He glanced at the folded note again. The little hand-drawn symbol seemed harmless, almost playful, but now it looked almost like a warning, a mark left by someone who wasn't supposed to be found. He tucked it into his pocket like it was something precious. Something dangerous? On the other side of the galaxy? Admiral Hale's fleet drifted in the now silent space where the battle had taken place. Broken pieces of the enemy ships spun slowly, reflecting hull lights in quick flashes. The human officers were analyzing data, running scans, transmitting reports. But Hale wasn't celebrating the victory. He stood perfectly still, staring into the shifting darkness of the zone. There were currents, their patterns in the distortion. Like eddies in a deep ocean. Something moved beneath it all. Something old. Something observing them, sir, Commander Solis said quietly, stepping beside him. Sensors confirm full destruction of the enemy line. No survivors detected. That's what bothers me, Hale replied. Solis frowned. You think they wanted to lose? I think they wanted to learn. Hale's voice was low, firm. We didn't scare them. We told them exactly how strong we are. And someone out there is calculating what comes next. Solis swallowed, understanding. Should we alert the council? Hale shook his head. Not yet. Until we understand what we're dealing with. I don't want politicians turning this into a show. Keep the fleet in silent mode. and keep scanning the deeper layers of the zone. Solus nodded and hurried off, but Hale remained still. Something was wrong. There was an unease in the air that felt heavier than the enemy they'd destroyed, almost like the universe itself was holding its breath. Back on Earth, Eli stepped off the train, still checking his screen. No new messages. The city around him buzzed with weekend Life Street vendors shouting. Hover buses gliding overhead, crowds spilling into shops. Everything felt normal, painfully normal. But the note in his pocket burned with unanswered questions. He kept replaying the woman's words in his mind. Asterisk, you're about to be contacted about a program. Say yes, it will change your life. Asterisk, a program? What kind? Military? Scientific? Something hidden? Something illegal? His father had been an engineer at the Orbital Development Division. But as far as Eli knew, he'd never been involved in anything secret. The most interesting thing he'd done was work on a SHIELD prototype that had been canceled years ago. So how did this stranger know him? Why did she think Eli would be contacted? Why him at all? He walked toward the robotics exam hall, but his focus was scattered. It wasn't until he reached the doors that his tablet buzzed again so hard he nearly dropped it. A new message flashed. Asterisk, asterisk, do not enter the building. Asterisk, asterisk, Eli froze. People around him moved past. Unaware, he stepped aside, scanning the crowd for any sign of the woman from the train, or anyone else who looked suspicious. Nothing. His hands trembled slightly as he typed, "Why?" The reply came fast. Asterisk, asterisk, just trust me. Walk away and act normal. Asterisk, asterisk, a chill crawled down Eli's spine. Was this some kind of threat? A prank? Or something else entirely? He forced himself to turn casually, pretending he'd forgotten something, then walked away from the building. His heart thudded so loudly, it felt like others could hear it. A third message appeared. Asterisk, asterisk good. Now head to the park. Sit by the fountain. Asterisk, asterisk, Eli hesitated. Was this really smart? He didn't know who this was, what they wanted, or what they planned to do. But the note from the woman echoed in his mind. Asterisk, say yes. Asterisk, maybe he already had. He made his way to the park, staying aware of every shadow, every face. When he reached the fountain, he sat on the cool stone edge. The water bubbled in soft bursts. Kids laughed nearby. A dog barked happily. Everything looked ordinary, calm, safe. His screen lit up again. Asterisk, asterisk, look left. Asterisk, asterisk, slowly, stiffly. Eli turned his head. A man sat on a bench not far away, wearing simple clothes that blended in easily. He looked like any other city worker taking a break, except he wasn't looking at his tablet, or the fountain, or the path. He was looking directly at Eli. Their eyes met. Eli's tablet buzzed once more. Asterisk, asterisk, don't be scared. Just listen. Asterisk, asterisk, the man stood up. He walked toward Eli with calm, steady steps. No rushing, no anger, nothing threatening, but something about him felt too controlled, too deliberate, as if every movement was carefully measured. When he reached Eli, he didn't smile, didn't offer a greeting. He simply said, "You read the note." Eli nodded, throat dry. "Good," the man said softly. "Then you already know your life is about to change, but not in the way you think." Eli swallowed. "Who are you?" The man looked at him with a hint of surprise, almost like he expected Eli to already know the answer. "My name isn't important yet. What matters is that you're connected to something much bigger than Earth, something your father was part of before he died." Eli felt his breath hitch. "My father. He never said anything about that. He wasn't allowed to," the man replied. "But he tried to protect you. More than you realize." A gust of wind rustled the leaves overhead. The fountain continued its soft bubbling, but everything else seemed to go silent. "What do you want from me?" Eli whispered. "Not want," the man said. "Need." Eli stared at him, unsure what to say. There's a program, the man continued. One that was shut down years ago. But it's starting again because the threat out there is growing. And whether you believe it or not, Eli, you're part of it by birthright. The mention of a threat instantly made Eli think of Hale's fleet, though he had no idea why. He'd only seen fragments of the news that morning, about a mission into deep space. It hadn't seemed connected to him at all. The man crouched down so his eyes were level with Eli's. Listen carefully. The signal that woke the enemy in the zone? It's not just responding to our fleet, Eli's breath caught. It's responding to you. Deep unease filled Eli's chest. Me? But I'm just... No, the man cut him off gently. You're not. You never were. Eli's pulse raced so fast he felt lightheaded. The man's expression tightened, and whatever has awakened out there, it's coming. Not for Earth. Not for the fleet. His voice dropped to a whisper. It's coming for you. Before Eli could speak, before he could ask anything, before he could even breathe, a fountain behind him suddenly flickered. The water froze. The air shimmered in every screen in the park, from tablets to public displays. Blinked at the same time, showing the same symbol that was drawn on the woman's note. A star inside a circle. Except now, it was pulsing as if something on the other side was trying to break through, and none of them knew whether it was a warning or a summons. Eli's heart pounded as he stared at the symbol pulsing on every screen around the park. It wasn't just the screens, the ground seemed to vibrate faintly under his feet, as if the world itself were responding to something unseen. The man crouched in front of him grabbed his shoulder gently. Stay calm. This is exactly why you're here. Why me? Eli whispered, but his voice barely carried over the strange hum that had begun to fill the air. It was subtle at first, almost like static, but then it deepened, resonating through his chest. I'm just a kid. How could I possibly? The man shook his head. You're not just a kid. Your father knew what would happen one day. That's why he left clues, notes, and warnings. You're the key, Eli. The human element that no technology, no fleet, no weapon can replace. Eli's mind spun. His father had always been secretive about his work at the Orbital Development Division. But he never imagined anything like this. Something in him started to click: the note, the mysterious messages, the symbol, the fleet's mission. They weren't separate events. They were connected. Somehow, everything pointed back to him. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, Admiral Hale was still observing the zone. Sensors detected a subtle energy spike near the destroyed enemy fleet's remains. It wasn't powerful, at least, not compared to full-scale weapons fire. But it was deliberate, patterned, precise. It pulsed in intervals that suggested a signal rather than a weapon, sir. We're picking up fluctuations, Commander Celeste reported. It's unusual? Not like anything we've cataloged. Hale's jaw tightened. Send a probe. Keep it at a distance. I don't want to underestimate this. Every time we think we understand the zone, it proves otherwise. On Earth, the pulsing symbol above the fountain began to change shape, subtly twisting into angles that Eli didn't recognize. The man standing with him grabbed the tablet from his hands. You have to see this. It's not just for you, it's for all humans who are about to awaken. Eli felt a shiver down his spine. Awaken? What do you mean? The man's voice dropped almost to a whisper, but urgent. You and your father are part of a lineage connected to this energy. You've inherited abilities humans barely understand. You can interface with the same forces the fleet is fighting against, forces that were once thought dormant. But if you fail to act, it won't just be you. The fleet, the cities, everything could be affected. Eli swallowed hard, trying to process what he was hearing. He'd always thought the stories his father told him about strange energy fields, hidden experiments, and ancient alien tech were just bedtime tales. Now, faced with the pulsing symbol and the calm intensity of the man in front of him, he realized that every odd story his father told him might have been a warning, a preparation, a puzzle for him to solve later. At that moment, across the city, a low hum began to spread. Traffic lights flickered. Vehicles slowed and came to abrupt stops. Streetlights dimmed and pulsed in sync with the symbol above the fountain. Ordinary citizens noticed the unusual electrical activity, but interpreted it as a citywide technical failure. No one realized it was a signal or ripple from the same source that had stirred the zone. Meanwhile, aboard the Vanguard, Hale's probe detected the anomaly spreading outward, reaching toward Earth faster than any conventional vessel or signal could travel. The readings didn't match any natural phenomenon. They weren't energy waves. Exactly, they were patterns, intelligence, something alive, or at least something that thought like it was alive. Hale's stomach tightened. It's learning. It's adapting. And it's heading straight for home? Back in the park, Eli's focus snapped to the tablet in the man's hands. It displayed a three-dimensional map of the solar system, overlaid with a luminous web that extended far beyond Earth. Each strand pulsed rhythmically, connecting planets, stations, fleets, and hidden outposts. The symbol above the fountain hovered over Earth like a marker. "Do you see it now?" the man asked. "It's everywhere, and it's reaching for you because it knows you can control the flow. But controlling it isn't simple. You'll need guidance and allies, guidance." Eli echoed. "From who? You? Some secret organization?" "The fleet." His mind reeled with questions faster than he could articulate them. And why me? Why can't anyone else do it? The man hesitated, then answered softly, almost mournfully. "Because no one else has the human element that you do, a combination of intuition, morality, and resilience. Machines can replicate strategies, fleets can replicate firepower, but humans like you can do things no one expects." Eli felt a sudden weight settle on his shoulders. It wasn't just about him anymore. The fleet, the city, perhaps even the planet, they all depended on what he did next. And he didn't even know what that was. In the shadows near the fountain, another figure watched, unseen. A woman, older than the one who had given him the first note, her features obscured by a hood. Her tablet mirrored Eli's, tracking his reactions, logging every heartbeat, every hesitation. She was part of a larger network, invisible council monitoring human potential for centuries. She whispered into a comlink. "Subject is aware. Proceeding with Phase 2, initiate contact with Fleet Command. He is ready, but he doesn't know it yet." The hum intensified. Birds scattered from nearby trees startled. Dogs barked nervously. A street vendor dropped a tray of fruit as the energy field seemed to push against the air itself. Eli turned instinctively, feeling the pulse in his chest resonate with the same rhythm as the symbol above the fountain. It was almost like a heartbeat calling to him, pulling him. Meanwhile, Admiral Hale received an incoming transmission marked Classified Earth Command only. The message was short but urgent. Asterisk, an anomaly has been detected near urban centers. Energy spikes match human fleet operational patterns. Immediate investigation required. Possible connection to civilian subjects. Recommendation: activate observation units. Asterisk, Hale's frown deepened. Observation units. Now, I don't want surprises. As the fleet scrambled probes, relays, and reconnaissance drones, the man at the fountain guided Eli. "You have choices," he said. "Each step you take now will affect not just Earth, but the fleet and possibly the entire galaxy. And you have no idea what's coming next. Trust me when I say this. The harder the challenge, the greater the consequences." Eli's eyes darted between the pulsing symbol, the map on the tablet, and the man in front of him. His thoughts were chaotic, but one thing was clear: his life, which had felt ordinary just hours ago, had exploded into something larger than he could comprehend. He wasn't just a teenager anymore. He was a link, a conduit, a potential fulcrum in a conflict that spanned light years and involved forces humans barely understood, the figure in the shadows observed, waiting for the signal that Eli would either embrace or ignore. And in the deepest reaches of the zone, Hale's fleet continued scanning, unaware that the ripples of the anomaly were already reaching Earth, and that humanity's first encounter with the true force behind the enemy was only beginning. The pulse quickened. The symbol above the fountain rotated faster. Eli felt a surge of energy, an almost magnetic pull coursing through him. Every instinct screamed that the next move could either save everything or destroy it. and then the wind shifted. The world seemed to hold its breath. A whisper floated on the air, almost unintelligible, but unmistakably human. Eli. It was his name, carried with urgency. From where, he didn't know. And in that moment, he realized this wasn't just a warning. It was a summons. And the choices he made next would echo across the stars. Eli's pulse raced as the whisper repeated. Softer this time, but unmistakably close. The energy from the fountain, the tablet, even the air around him seemed to thrum in sync with the invisible force calling his name. He felt drawn forward, as if gravity had shifted, not toward the ground, but toward something larger, something alive and aware. Waiting for him somewhere beyond the ordinary world, the man beside him didn't move, but his eyes held a warning. "You're feeling it now," he said. "That's the first step. The force is responding to you, and it knows your potential. But with awareness comes danger. You have to focus, or it will overwhelm you." Eli nodded, though uncertainty churned in his chest. He tried to steady his breathing, tried to make sense of the pulsing energy that seemed to seep into his very bones. Every instinct screamed that what had started as a small signal, the note, the messages, the symbol, was now something enormous, spreading through the planet and beyond, above Earth. Hale's fleet picked up the anomaly as it intensified. The readings weren't normal energy spikes or simple pulses, they were patterned, deliberate, almost intelligent. It had layers like a language, an order hidden in chaos. "Sir," Sully said, eyes wide, "whatever this is, it's learning from us, from the fleet, and from the planet. It's adapting." Hale's jaw tightened. "Keep analyzing. Keep distance, and prepare for immediate engagement if necessary. But I want answers before we act. I don't want to make the first mistake." The fleet, though powerful, felt small now against the scale of what was awakening. It wasn't just a fleet battle anymore, it was a signal, a response. And its target was human, not purely mechanical. It's not purely strategic. Back in the city, Eli felt the pull of the energy stronger than ever. The fountain's water began to shimmer, almost glowing, the pulsing star symbol now appearing above him like a small sun suspended in midair. He could feel it touching something deep inside, a rhythm in his chest that matched its beat. Every instinct screamed that the moment to act was approaching. Then the figure in the shadows stepped forward. She removed her hood, revealing sharp, deliberate features, eyes that had clearly seen centuries of knowledge and conflict. "Eli," she said quietly but firmly, "you can't do this alone. You will need allies, and time is running out. The fleet is aware something unusual is happening on Earth, and whatever is awakening is moving faster than anyone realizes." Eli looked from her to the man beside him, then back to the fountain. "Allies. Who? How? I don't even understand what's happening, let alone how to control it." The woman knelt, meeting his gaze. "Control isn't the point. You have to guide it, influence it. If you hesitate, if you try to run, the energy will respond unpredictably. It may consume you or worse, reach beyond you, affecting everything the fleet is trying to protect. That's why it reached out to you first." A shiver ran down Eli's spine. Everything he had taken for granted about his life, school, friends, his ordinary mornings felt like a fragile illusion. He had been pulled into something vast, terrifying, and alive. Meanwhile, the orbit above the planet, the anomaly signal began interacting with the fleet's sensors in unpredictable ways. Subsystems flickered. Shields momentarily destabilized. Even the most hardened officers whispered unnerved. "Sir, it's not attacking in a conventional way," one said. "It's probing, testing our limits. It's learning our weaknesses, our responses." Hale's voice was tight. "Then we prepare for the unexpected. Full readiness across all ships. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Keep communications open with Earth Command. Track every pulse, every fluctuation, every anomaly." Back on the ground, Eli's vision blurred as the pulsing symbol enveloped him. The fountain's water rose slightly, defying gravity, tiny droplets orbiting him in rhythm with the symbol. He felt a sudden surge of energy, not just around him, but inside him, like a river breaking through a dam. His chest heaved as he tried to remain standing, but the force was overwhelming. The man beside him grabbed his shoulders. Focus. Breathe. Let it flow through you, not against you. You have a connection your father left behind. It's in your blood, your mind, your instincts. Trust it. For now, just trust it. Eli clenched his fists. The energy surged in response, as if aware of his will. His body tingled, his vision tunneled to the star symbol above the fountain, which now rotated faster, emitting waves that shimmered through the city streets. Pedestrians felt the subtle pulse, but dismissed it as a strange electrical interference. Few knew the scale of what was happening. Suddenly the air shimmered, and another figure appeared, this one directly across from Eli, hovering slightly above the ground. Its form was humanoid, but flickered at the edges, like light bending against a force field. The star symbol pulsed more rapidly in response, almost as if acknowledging its presence. The hovering figure spoke not in words Eli could hear, but inside his mind. Asterisk, you are awake. You are the key. Align or resist. The outcome depends on your choice. Asterisk. Eli staggered back. His vision darted between the two humans, the pulsing symbol, and the hovering figure. The city felt small, fragile, inconsequential compared to the force now converging on him. And yet somehow it all tied back to him, the note. The messages, the fleet, and the legacy his father had left behind. On the fleet's monitors, Hale and his officers observed readings that made no sense. The energy spikes weren't coming from any physical source. They were intelligent, responsive, aware. It's not a weapon, Hale said finally, voice low. It's a mind, or something that thinks like one. And it's interacting with someone on Earth. Solis swallowed. You think it's Eli Tanner? Hale's eyes narrowed. I don't know. But whoever it is, the pattern of response matches the timing and intensity of the pulses we saw in the zone. The fleet just crushed one enemy, but the real threat may already be inside our own planet, responding to a human element we weren't prepared for. Back on Earth, the hovering figure moved closer. Eli's pulse matched the rhythm of the symbol. Energy coursed through him, filling him with both fear and awe. He realized he had a choice: resist the force and risk being consumed, or embrace it and guide it, though he had no idea what would happen next. The woman and the man flanking him urged him silently. Now, they mouthed. Don't hesitate. And in that moment, time seemed to stretch. The air itself trembled. The star symbol above the fountain pulsed violently, casting shadows across the city. Every electronic device, every screen, every energy field in the immediate area reacted, flickering in unison. The anomaly had connected to Eli. It was no longer distant. It was here, in the city, in him, in the world. The hovering figure tilted its head, waiting. The energy surged again. Eli could feel it in his bones, in his heartbeat, in his lungs. Everything, the fleet, the city, the shadowed observers. The legacy of his father converged into this single, tense moment. A low hum began to resonate through the city, rising into a pitch that made windows vibrate, car alarms beep erratically, and every person in the park freeze mid-motion. The man beside Eli held his shoulders tightly. The woman watched intently. The hovering figure moved closer still, and the star symbol spun faster, almost as if the city itself had become a giant clock, counting down. Eli's mind raced. He knew that when he made his next move, it would set everything into motion: the anomaly, the fleet, the humans watching, the hidden forces waiting. One wrong thought, one hesitation, and the consequences would ripple across Earth and into the depths of space. And then the whisper returned, louder this time, cutting through the hum. Asterisk, choose, or be chosen. Asterisk. Eli swallowed hard. The ground trembled beneath his feet. Energy crackled in the air. The pulsing star symbol became almost blinding. Everything Earth, the fleet, the zone. The legacy of his father hinged on the choice he was about to make. and the moment of action had finally arrived. Eli's chest heaved as the pulsing star above the fountain burned brighter, its light reflecting in every window and every puddle of water around the park. The hovering figure's presence pressed on him like a living weight, and for the first time, Eli realized that the energy wasn't just reacting to his presence, it was reading his fears, his instincts, even the smallest impulses in his mind. He wanted to run, to escape, but the man and woman flanking him held him firmly in place, eyes locked on his every movement. Then the tablet in his hand vibrated violently, startling him. The screen glowed with a new message, one that made his stomach drop. It wasn't from the unknown contact who had guided him this far. It was a live feed. And on the feed was not him, but the city. Skyscrapers shimmered unnaturally as the pulsing star symbol projected across the skyline, twisting into shapes Eli had never seen before. Then the message scrolled in bold letters. Asterisk, asterisk, Eli Tanner is not alone. Asterisk, asterisk. Before he could react, the energy around him surged, pulling him slightly off the ground. The man beside him tightened his grip. Stay with me. Do not resist entirely, or it will overwhelm you, he warned. Eli's mind raced. Not alone? What does that mean? The woman spoke quietly, almost reverently. It means someone or something has been manipulating the events from the beginning. Your father's legacy, the fleet, the messages, they've all been part of a larger plan. And now that plan is shifting. The pulsing star above the fountain suddenly split in half, twisting and forming a sharp, jagged pattern that looked almost like a warning oar, a cage. The hovering figure recoiled slightly, and Eli felt the tugging force in his chest intensify, as if it were trying to pull him into the symbol itself. And then the second plot twist revealed itself from the swirling energy. Another presence emerged. Not human, not fully formed, but unmistakably sentient. It mirrored Eli's form, his face, his posture. Even his hesitation, but its eyes glowed a cold, metallic blue. Eli stumbled back. Who is that? The man beside him stiffened. That's not supposed to happen. The woman's expression hardened. It's the reflection. The other side of you. The anomaly has adapted faster than we anticipated. It's creating a human-like avatar to test your instincts, to probe your weaknesses. If it can manipulate you directly, it could bypass the fleet entirely and reach Earth's core systems without firing a single weapon. Eli's reflection figure raised a hand, and in an instant, the symbol above the fountain began to pulse in exact opposition to the city's electricity grid. Streetlights flickered wildly, cars skidded to sudden stops, and energy surges rippled across nearby buildings. The anomaly wasn't just affecting the park anymore. It was reaching for the whole city, maybe even beyond. Eli, the woman said urgently, it's trying to replace you in real time. You have to respond before it learns completely. One mistake, and it could take your place entirely, manipulating the fleet, the planet, everything. Eli's throat went dry. His instincts screamed, but his body felt heavy, uncooperative. The reflection figure mirrored every small movement he made, predicting his reactions with terrifying precision. Every pulse of energy that Eli felt, the reflection felt as well. Feeding on his hesitation, the man beside him muttered under his breath, "It's learning too fast. It shouldn't be able to do this yet." Sudden shift rattled the city. The fountain water exploded upward in glowing arcs, sending droplets orbiting like tiny moons. The hovering figure recoiled again, and the reflection figure advanced, moving with uncanny speed. Eli realized that whatever connection he had with the anomaly wasn't just a one-way link. This reflection could act independently, almost like it had its own consciousness. On the fleet's monitors, Hale's eyes widened. The energy spikes they had been tracking were no longer distant pulses. They were coordinated patterns, almost tactical in design. It was as if something on Earth, unseen and intelligent, had begun directing the energy in real time, targeting the fleet's sensors, communication lines, even their shields. Solus leaned over the console. "Sir, the patterns match something human but not entirely." It's almost like a shadow of someone alive is manipulating the anomalies. Could it be him? Tanner Hale's jaw tightened. No, it's a copy, an imitation. If this thing is adaptive, it's testing every response we've made so far. It's learning faster than any enemy we've faced. And if it can interact with Tanner, it could bypass everything we know about the zone. Back on the ground, Eli felt the reflection figure's presence inside his mind, probing, whispering, taunting. Asterisk, you are weak. You hesitate. You cannot control what is meant to be mine. Asterisk, Eli gritted his teeth. I'm not weak, he shouted, forcing the words out, feeling a surge of determination. The pulsing star above the fountain responded instantly, spinning faster, throwing sparks of light across the park. Energy arcs snapped like lightning toward the reflection, but the figure dodged with unnatural speed. Grinning in the form of Eli's own face, the woman grabbed Eli's arm. It's learning from you. Every emotion, every reaction, every doubt strengthens it. You have to think faster, act faster. Don't let it predict you. Eli's mind raced. He realized something chilling. The reflection wasn't just testing him. It was mapping him, learning his human element, the very thing that made him unpredictable. If it succeeded, it could replace him, manipulate the fleet, and control Earth's systems without firing a single weapon. The city's electricity flared again. Streetlights blinked out and on. Hovercars screeched to sudden stops. Pedestrians screamed, caught in the sudden blackout and surge. Eli felt the anomalies pull stronger than ever, forcing him closer to the fountain, closer to the spinning star. As if it wanted him to surrender entirely, the man beside him shouted, "Eli, you have to act now. Don't let it take you." Eli's pulse raced. Fear, adrenaline, and something else, something deeper flared inside him. He had to make a choice: resist entirely and risk being overwhelmed, or embrace the connection and fight from inside the anomaly itself. Either way, the stakes had escalated. The reflection figure advanced, the anomaly's energy rippled across the city, and the fleet was watching from orbit. Unaware that the battle on the ground was now a threat to every human alive, the woman whispered urgently, "Whatever you do, don't hesitate. The city, the fleet, and even the forces in the zone are counting on you. One wrong move." Eli's eyes met the reflection's glowing blue gaze. In that instant, he understood the terrifying truth. This wasn't just a test. It was a battle for identity, control, and survival. The anomaly had evolved. The enemy in the zone had been a distraction. The real conflict was here, and it was personal. And as the pulsing star symbol above the fountain spun faster than ever, casting shadows across the city in jagged patterns, Eli realized the climax of this confrontation was about to begin, but he didn't yet know if he was ready, or if humanity would survive what came next.